Do you believe that power always reveals itself in loud, forceful ways? What if real power is silent, calm, and patient until the right moment to strike arrives? This is the story of a woman who was humiliated in public, judged only by the color of her skin, and stripped of her dignity in front of strangers. What her oppressors didn't know was that she owned every wall, every chandelier, and every paycheck in that building. And in less than half an hour, the tables would turn so completely that history itself would be rewritten. The sun spilled through the glass roof of the Imperial Crown Hotel, a landmark of wealth and exclusivity in the heart of the city. Its marble floors gleamed like still water, polished by staff until they reflected every movement. Golden chandeliers dropped light in cascading patterns across velvet sofas, where businessmen adjusted ties and tourists whispered in awe of their surroundings. The air smelled faintly of roses from imported arrangements that cost more than some people's rent. And in the middle of this spectacle, one woman stood frozen. Her name was Dr. Maya Carter, 42 years old, confident, elegant, and determined. Her charcoal gray suit was cut with precision. The diamond studs in her ears sparkled subtly under the chandeliers. Yet none of this mattered, because to the man approaching her, none of it made her worthy of respect. "Ma'am, you'll need to leave," said John Mason, head of security. His tone wasn't professional. It was loaded with dismissal, with the smug arrogance of someone who believed authority was his to wield unchecked. His hand hovered near his radio, as though the woman in front of him was a threat instead of a guest. Maya's fingers tightened around her leather briefcase. She had walked into thousands of luxury hotels before, but never had she been treated like an intruder. She looked into John's eyes and saw no doubt, only contempt. "You don't belong here," he added, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. The lobby shifted. Conversations faded. A father pulled his daughter closer. A young couple glanced at one another nervously. Judgment spread through the room like smoke, thin at first, then thicker with each second that passed. At the reception desk, Laura Chen, the manager on duty, lifted her head. Her professional smile evaporated when she noticed Maya. Her brows furrowed as if she were seeing something that didn't match the environment. Laura stepped forward, crossing her arms. "Sir, should I call the police?" she asked John. Maya inhaled deeply. Her voice, calm but sharp, broke through the rising tension. "I have a reservation," John chuckled. "Sure you do. What name?" "Carter." Laura typed quickly into her computer. The clatter of keys echoed like a gavel in a courtroom. Finally, she looked up with triumph. "There's no Carter checked in today. I'm not checking in. Have a meeting upstairs." The words didn't sway them. In fact, John's smirk grew wider, the kind of smirk that belongs to someone certain the ground belongs to him. He gestured toward the door. "Not here, you don't. This isn't some community center. This is the Imperial Crown." The guest whispered louder. Phones started to appear, lifted discreetly but deliberately, because in this age injustice rarely hides for long. Among them was Emily Rivera, a 19-year-old influencer. Her phone was already live, and thousands of her followers watched with shock as the scene unfolded in real time. "You guys won't believe this," she whispered into her camera. "This woman is being thrown out for no reason. You're seeing this live." The viewer count skyrocketed within seconds. Maya's phone vibrated in her purse, call after call. Board members, assistants, her legal team. She knew the stakes. She needed to be in the conference room above this lobby within minutes. Every second wasted here was money, hundreds of millions slipping away. Still, her voice remained even. "I'm not leaving." That refusal changed everything. John's posture stiffened. He motioned for backup. Laura narrowed her eyes, and the atmosphere of the lobby shifted from subtle suspicion to open hostility. A man in a golf shirt muttered loudly, "Finally, someone taking care of these people." His wife nodded beside him. Guests clutched pearls, clutched handbags, clutched prejudices. Emily's livestream comments exploded in outrage. "She's lying. She's the boss, watch. This is racism. Call the news." Maya reached for her ID. As she opened her wallet, a titanium black Elite bank card slipped out and clattered on the marble. The engraved details shone unmistakably. People in the crowd gasped. "That's the top card," someone whispered. "You can't fake that," but John kicked it back toward her shoe. "Nice fake." His words cut deeper than he realized. But Maya Carter didn't flinch. She knew silence often carried more weight than shouting. What he didn't know was that his time was almost up. because in less than 15 minutes he wouldn't just regret those words. He would lose everything, and the whole world would be watching. The crowd around the marble floor thickened as curiosity replaced routine. Guests leaned forward in their seats, whispering behind manicured hands. A family pulled out their phones to record, uncertain whether to intervene or simply capture the scandal unfolding. The air itself seemed to tighten, the glitter of chandeliers now reflecting judgment instead of light. Maya bent to pick up her fallen card, her hand steady though her chest ached with the sting of humiliation. She straightened her blazer and looked John in the eye. "I told you, I have business upstairs. You have business outside," he sneered, motioning again for reinforcements. His words rang with authority, but cracks of doubt already crept in. Laura's computer chimed. She leaned closer, pretending to search but more interested in feeding the narrative. No record. No schedule. Nothing matches what she says. From the corner, a man with glasses opened his laptop. His name was Mark Harris, a local blogger known for sharp takes on the city's hidden inequalities. His fingers tapped furiously. "Imperial Crown discrimination happening live," he typed. "Stay tuned." By now, Emily's live stream was a tidal wave. 50,000, 60,000, 70,000 viewers. Comments flew faster than she could read. "She's somebody important. Don't let them treat her like that." Another scrolled by. "Expose them. Keep filming." John noticed the phones, his jaw tightening. "Ma'am, stop recording," he barked at Emily. She raised her chin. "This is a public lobby. You can't stop me." Maya watched the argument unfold, her silence heavier than any defense she could offer. She knew timing was everything. She checked her phone again. Messages stacked like bricks in a wall. One from her chief legal advisor. "Where are you?" "Deadline approaching." "You must be here." Another from the chairman of her board. "The deal dies if you're not in that room." Her watch ticked. She had less than 10 minutes before the merger meeting began. A deal worth nearly $1 billion hanging on her presence. Yet she stood trapped in her own hotel, surrounded by strangers who doubted her very right to exist there. "Search her bag," John ordered. His voice carried across the lobby. The room erupted in gasps. Phones shot higher into the air, recording everything. A middle-aged woman shook her head in disapproval. A young man muttered, "This isn't right." But John pressed forward, reaching for Maya's briefcase. "You have no right to touch my belongings," Maya said, her tone even but cold. Her calmness was unnerving, and for a moment John hesitated. At that instant, another figure entered from the executive hallway. Patricia Green, the general manager, her heels clicking like gavel strikes on the marble. She surveyed the scene with a practiced air, her eyes moving from John to Laura, then to Maya. "What's happening here?" Patricia asked. John wasted no time. "This woman is trespassing. Claims to have business upstairs, but she's not on any list." Patricia studied Maya carefully. Something in her demeanor unsettled her. The way she carried herself, the way her suit seemed more than clothing, the way her silence held the room. For the first time, doubt flickered in her eyes. "Are you certain?" Patricia whispered to John. "She doesn't belong here," John said firmly. "She's a disruption." Patricia hesitated, but Laura interjected with urgency. "Security cameras are down in this area. I can't verify anything. Convenient. Too convenient." The livestream audience exploded with suspicion. "Cameras just happen to be broken? Cover up?" Emily whispered into her mic. "They're hiding something." Maya glanced at her watch again. 6 minutes. 6 minutes to salvage her reputation and the deal waiting above. She could feel every pair of eyes drilling into her. Guests, employees, strangers, cameras. Yet she stood straight, her expression composed. She had been tested before in boardrooms filled with men who doubted her. She had endured investors who questioned her intelligence, executives who second-guessed her every move, shareholders who thought her presence was temporary. But here, in the middle of a marble palace she owned, this humiliation burned deeper than any of them. A businessman pushed through the crowd suddenly, pointing at her. "Wait, isn't that Dr. Carter?" I saw her speak at the business summit last month. She was the keynote. The atmosphere shifted. The whispers grew louder. Laura froze, fingers trembling over her keyboard. John scowled but couldn't hide the flicker of unease on his face. Emily's viewer count soared past 100,000. Mark's tweets were going viral. "Is this who I think it is? She runs companies. They're humiliating their own boss live on camera. The hotel's digital clock glowed like a warning bell. 5 minutes. Patricia leaned toward Laura's monitor. Check again, she demanded. Laura typed furiously, scrolling through corporate records, press releases, and photographs. Her face drained of color. This can't be. Maya's phone buzzed once more. This time she answered. Her voice carried across the marble hall, steady as a mountain. Cancel the merger. Effective immediately. The words froze the room. Gasps echoed like thunder rolling across the lobby. The businessman's face went pale. John's smirk shattered. Patricia's hands trembled. Every phone caught the moment. Every viewer online felt the shift in power. And Maya Carter, the woman they had tried to humiliate, revealed herself as the force who could topple their world with a single sentence. Silence fell like a curtain over the grand lobby. The weight of her words pressed on every chest in the room. Even the gentle hum of background music seemed to fade into nothingness. People looked at one another in disbelief, searching for confirmation that they had truly heard what she said. Cancel the merger. 3 words that carried the power to unravel an empire. The businessman who had recognized her swallowed hard, his eyes darting between Maya and the stunned security guard. Patricia, the manager, felt her knees weaken. She knew enough about corporate chains to understand what had just happened. This wasn't some stranger refusing to leave. This was someone whose decisions could alter stock markets and livelihoods in a heartbeat. John tried to recover his authority. She's bluffing, he barked, though his voice cracked under the strain. Nobody cancels a deal worth that much money in the middle of a hotel lobby. But Maya wasn't bluffing. Her phone was still in her hand. The call already connected, her words echoing to the ears of executives and board members who sat upstairs waiting for her. She ended the call with a flick of her finger, her expression unreadable. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The live stream chat spiraled out of control. Did she just cancel $1 billion deal live? This is unreal. Quiet power. She's the boss. Emily could barely keep up. Her hands trembled, but she kept the camera steady. Her viewers passed 150,000, comments exploding with disbelief and admiration. Mark's blog post was already being retweeted thousands of times. The hashtag Imperial Crown Scandal began trending across multiple cities. Patricia's lips parted as she whispered, Dr. Maya Carter. The name sent a shiver through the staff. Laura, still at the computer, confirmed what Patricia already knew. Her screen displayed Maya's corporate biography. Photographs, press releases, ownership records. There was no mistake. She owns us, Laura whispered, the words cracking in her throat. The sentence spread like wildfire through the staff. Housekeeping peered from the service hallway. Bellhops exchanged panicked looks. Even the concierge, who had served countless wealthy guests, froze in recognition of the truth. Maya stepped closer to John. Her presence filled the space. No raised voice necessary. You told me I didn't belong here. You said this establishment doesn't serve my kind. Tell me, was that a misunderstanding? John's shoulders slumped. His confidence shattered. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Patricia felt her career unraveling with every second. Years of polished management, every award and accolade were useless now. Dr. Carter, she stammered, please accept my apology. This was a terrible mistake. Patricia, Maya interrupted softly. We will discuss your role later. Right now I have bigger matters to handle. Her phone rang again. This time she switched it to speaker. A crisp voice filled the lobby. Dr. Carter, do you confirm the cancellation of the merger with Kingsley International? Yes, Maya replied, her voice carrying calm authority. Effective immediately. Begin hostile workplace documentation. Multiple witnesses. Viral social proof. File under discrimination and liability exposure. Today's date. The collective gasp from onlookers was deafening. One security guard backed away slowly, realizing the scale of what had just happened. A woman in the crowd whispered, she really does own this place. Another muttered, they're finished. Emily's live stream counter surged to 200,000. Social media lit up with screenshots and commentary. She just destroyed $1 billion deal like it was nothing. This is history unfolding. I've never seen anything like it. Mark's live blog declared, CEO humiliated in her own hotel fires back. Entire empire in jeopardy. Major news outlets began reaching out for interviews. Within minutes, the incident would be on every national feed. Maya ended the call and slipped her phone back into her purse. Her eyes swept across the room. Security badge, she said, extending her hand toward John. John froze. What? You're terminated. Effective immediately. The marble floor seemed to tilt beneath him. His authority, once unquestioned, collapsed in front of strangers, cameras, and 500,000 online witnesses. His trembling hands unclipped the badge from his uniform and placed it in her palm. The crowd exhaled collectively, as though justice had materialized in front of them. But Maya wasn't done. She raised her phone once more, scrolling with deliberate precision. Then she made another call, her voice sharp but calm. Legal department. Prepare immediate filings against Imperial Crown staff for racial discrimination, hostile environment, and corporate liability. Multiple employees. Multiple witnesses. Viral documentation already archived. Gasps turned to murmurs of awe. Even Patricia had tears in her eyes now. Not just from fear, but from the realization that the world had shifted in those moments. Maya Carter didn't yell. She didn't rage. She didn't storm. She dismantled injustice piece by piece, her calmness the sharpest weapon in the room, and everyone knew. This was only the beginning. The walls of the Imperial Crown seemed to close in as reality struck the staff. Every second stretched longer than the last. The board members had begun arriving upstairs, their confusion growing as the stream of calls and emails reached them. They didn't yet know what was happening below, but they would soon find out, and the fallout would be bigger than anyone could contain. Maya's calmness unnerved them most. While John's hands shook and Patricia's breath came short, Maya moved like a woman who had been here before. Because she had, not this exact moment, but this exact feeling. The weight of doubt, the sting of judgment, the quiet pressure to prove she belonged. She had fought it in boardrooms. She had fought it in universities. She had fought it in negotiations where men twice her age looked down on her, as though her achievements were accidents. Today, in the marble lobby of her own empire, she faced it again. But this time the entire world was watching. Emily's livestream comments had become a torrent. People tagged journalists, celebrities, politicians. Screenshots flooded social media. Viewers weren't just watching. They were participating in a cultural storm. Cancel your reservations now. Boycott Imperial Crown. This is going to court. Mark's blog thread hit 10,000 shares in under 10 minutes. His latest update read, CEO of Carter Holdings just revealed she owns the Imperial Crown. Security humiliated her on camera. Billion-dollar merger canceled in response. Developing. The hotel's reputation collapsed in real time. Online booking platforms were suddenly flooded with one-star reviews. Twitter trended with hashtags demanding accountability, and through it all Maya remained composed, her voice measured, her tone devastating in its calmness. Patricia finally stepped forward again, her voice breaking. Dr. Carter, please. We can fix this. This was a mistake, a terrible mistake. Maya turned to her, eyes cold as stone. You allowed your staff to treat me like a criminal in my own hotel. Do you understand the weight of that? Patricia opened her mouth but couldn't answer, because deep down she knew the answer. Years of complacency had allowed bias to thrive here. Maya had simply become the target at the wrong time in the wrong place, and it had cost them everything. The digital clock above the lobby doors flashed the top of the hour. The board meeting should have started. Executives should have been signing papers worth more than most people could imagine. Instead, their CEO stood in the lobby surrounded by a crowd of witnesses, tearing down years of work with deliberate precision. Suddenly, another voice cut through the tension. Dr. Carter. All eyes turned. A tall man in a navy suit pushed through the crowd. His name was Thomas Blake, one of Carter Holdings' senior board members. He looked from Maya to John to Patricia, and then to the stunned guests. His expression was a mix of anger and disbelief. What in the world is happening here? He demanded. John attempted to salvage the moment. This woman was trespassing, sir. We were following protocol. Thomas's face turned scarlet. Trespassing? Do you even know who you just put your hands on? She's disrupting the hotel, John muttered, his voice shrinking. That woman, Thomas snapped, pointing directly at Maya, is the reason this building exists. She is your employer, your boss, the owner of this entire chain, and you dared to throw her out like she was nothing. The gasp that followed shook the room more than Maya's calm declaration ever could, because this wasn't her voice anymore. It was confirmation from someone inside the system they had been blindly serving. Laura clutched the desk for balance. Patricia nearly stumbled. John looked like a child caught stealing from his father's wallet. Emily's live stream numbers shot past 300,000. Mark's website crashed under the weight of traffic. The world was no longer just watching. It was bearing witness. Maya's lips curved into the faintest smile, sharp and cold. "Do you see it now?" she asked softly. Her words cut through the silence like a blade. Patricia's phone buzzed in her pocket. News outlets, reporters, civil rights attorneys. The hotel's silence online was already being interpreted as guilt. Their brand, their revenue, their reputation, it was unraveling before their eyes. Maya pulled her phone back out, scrolling with calm purpose. Another call connected. "Yes, begin internal restructuring immediately. All staff involved in this incident are to be documented. Full suspension or termination pending review. Notify public relations. Prepare the press statement. This hotel will not operate another day without accountability." Patricia's hands trembled violently now. John's legs threatened to give way. The guests stood frozen, unable to believe they were watching a single woman dismantle an empire while sipping her power like it was the finest wine. And still, the live stream ticked higher. 400,000 viewers, then 500. A tidal wave of justice spreading across the globe, powered by quiet, steady words from a woman who had been told she didn't belong. The truth was dawning on everyone. Maya Carter wasn't just their boss. She wasn't just a CEO, she was a force, and she had just shifted the ground beneath their feet. And she was far from finished. The crowd had grown into a sea of faces. Guests who had once been silent observers were now whispering fiercely to one another, some in shame, others in awe. Staff members stood rooted to their spots, realizing the weight of their mistakes. The Imperial Crown Hotel, once a temple of prestige, had turned into the stage of its greatest scandal. Maya walked forward with steady grace, each step echoing across the marble as though the building itself bowed beneath her. She stopped in front of Patricia, her calm eyes holding the manager in place like shackles. "You allowed this," Maya said. Her voice was quiet, but every syllable landed like a hammer. "You looked away when judgment replaced service. You stood silent while arrogance replaced professionalism. This is not the first time I've been here, Patricia. You should have known who I was. Instead, you chose assumption over truth." Patricia's throat tightened. She had no defense. Every word was true. The livestream chat surged again, spilling with outrage. "She's burning the whole place down with calm words. This is what real leadership looks like. History is being made right now." Emily turned the camera toward John. His face was pale, his posture crumbled. The same man who had strutted with authority minutes earlier now looked broken, stripped of every ounce of power. Maya raised her hand, holding the badge he had just surrendered. She turned it in her fingers like a relic of arrogance, then placed it on the front desk beside Laura. "This is what happens when you forget who you serve." Laura's hands shook as she stared at the badge. Tears filled her eyes. She wanted to apologize, to beg, to explain, but there was nothing to say that could erase the way she had looked at Maya, the way she had assumed guilt without proof. Maya's phone rang again, this time vibrating with such urgency that the sound itself deepened the tension. She answered, voice as level as ever. "Yes, inform Kingsley International we will not move forward until further notice. Yes, they can issue whatever statements they wish. We will not negotiate with companies that tolerate this kind of culture. Tell them we will revisit discussions only after restructuring is complete." The room reacted with another collective intake of breath. An empire's future was changing course in the middle of a lobby, and the woman responsible didn't so much as raise her tone. Thomas Blake stepped closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. "Maya, the fallout from this will be enormous. Are you certain?" She turned her gaze on him, steel in her eyes. "Thomas, this is bigger than numbers on paper. This is about dignity, about proving that people cannot be bought and humiliated in the same breath. If it costs us billions today to build integrity tomorrow, then that is what we will do." Her words carried farther than she intended. Guests who overheard them whispered with admiration. Even Patricia, whose career now dangled by a thread, felt the undeniable truth of them. Emily's live stream surged past 600,000 viewers. Major news stations had already begun rebroadcasting clips. Social media was ablaze. The Imperial Crown scandal wasn't just trending, it was dominating. Mark's laptop nearly froze as he updated his story. He typed furiously, sweat dripping down his temples. Carter Holdings CEO halts billion-dollar merger after racial profiling in her own hotel. Entire industry watching. The sound of another elevator chimed. The doors opened to reveal more board members, their eyes wide with disbelief as they took in the scene. Suits and polished shoes froze mid-step when they realized the commotion centered around their leader. One of them, an older man with gray hair and authority in his stride, called out, "Dr. Carter, what's happening?" "The Kingsley executives are demanding answers." Maya turned slightly, her voice carrying with surgical precision. "Tell them they'll get their answers when I am finished correcting this. Until then, they wait. If they cannot wait, they are not partners worth keeping." Her words landed like an earthquake. These were not the declarations of someone desperate to save a deal. They were the words of someone who understood her value so deeply that she refused to bend. Patricia's knees nearly buckled. John rubbed his temples, sweat dripping down his brow. Laura quietly sobbed behind the desk. And still, Maya stood centered, unshaken, holding the weight of an empire in her calm hands. She turned once more to the crowd, her voice resonating with quiet fury. "Do you know how many livelihoods rested on this deal? Nearly 1,000. Do you understand what your arrogance cost today? This isn't just about me. This is about every person who would have found work, every family who would have had a chance at stability. You didn't just disrespect me. You disrespected them." The air grew thick with shame. Even the guests who had muttered cruel remarks earlier lowered their eyes, unable to bear the truth staring back at them. Emily whispered into her phone for her audience, her voice trembling. "She just said their prejudice cost almost 1,000 jobs. This is bigger than any of us thought. This isn't just about one woman. This is about the ripple effect of hate." The numbers climbed higher, 700,000, then 800. The live stream wasn't just documenting history anymore, it was rewriting it. And as the world watched, Maya Carter prepared to take her next step. The punishment wasn't over. The real transformation was only beginning. The tension in the lobby had reached a breaking point. The guests who lingered weren't just watching anymore. They were holding their breath, waiting to see how far Maya Carter would go. Even the chandeliers seemed to shimmer differently, casting long shadows across a room that felt less like a hotel and more like a courtroom. Maya's phone buzzed again, but this time she ignored it. She didn't need another reminder of the chaos erupting beyond these walls. The chaos was here, standing in uniforms, clutching clipboards, hiding behind broken excuses. Her eyes landed on Patricia once more. The manager's lips trembled, her entire body stiff under the crushing weight of judgment. "Patricia," Maya said slowly, "you have 30 days to implement bias training across this entire property. If you succeed, you remain. If you fail, you resign. Do you understand?" Patricia's eyes brimmed with tears. She nodded once, unable to speak. Maya turned to Laura, the receptionist who had stared at her with suspicion the moment she walked in. "You are suspended. If you return, it will only be after completing comprehensive training and proving you understand what inclusion means. You will rebuild trust one day at a time. Consider this your single chance at redemption." Laura covered her face with both hands, sobbing quietly. She knew this was mercy compared to what Maya could have done. Then came John. He stood rigid, though his entire frame shook. Maya stepped forward until only a foot of marble remained between them. Her voice cut through the silence, quiet but merciless. "You don't work here anymore. You will not work in any hotel, any property, or any company connected to me. You used authority as a weapon, and today it is stripped from you. Hand over your access cards, your equipment, and walk out. You are finished." John's mouth opened, but no words came. His authority had already been reduced to rubble. With trembling fingers, he placed his access cards on the desk. The uniform that had once given him swagger now hung on him like a costume of defeat. He turned and walked slowly toward the exit, his shoes tapping against the floor in hollow echoes. Guests recorded his every step. Emily's live stream zoomed in on him, broadcasting his downfall to nearly 1 million viewers. Maya didn't watch him go. She had already moved on, her focus on something far greater. "This hotel will no longer be a symbol of exclusion," she said, addressing not just the staff but the cameras that carried her words to the world. "It will be a place where dignity is non-negotiable. Every employee will understand that service without respect is not service at all, and every guest will know that here they are welcome." The words hit like lightning, igniting the live stream with applause emojis, fire icons, and messages of support. "This is how you lead." She turned humiliation into transformation. "This woman is rewriting the rules of power." From the back of the crowd, Thomas Blake raised his voice. Dr. Carter, the board is waiting upstairs. The Kingsley executives want answers. What do I tell them? Maya paused, then looked around the room. She met the eyes of Patricia, broken but listening, of Laura weeping behind her hands, of employees huddled in corners fearful of what tomorrow would bring, of guests still clutching their phones, realizing they had witnessed more than a scandal. They had witnessed a revolution of accountability. Tell them, Maya said, that the merger is postponed until we prove we deserve to grow. Tell them integrity comes before expansion. If they cannot wait, then they were never the right partners. If they can, then together we will build something stronger than profit. We will build a culture that cannot be shaken by prejudice. The words settled over the room like a declaration of war, not against competitors, but against the very foundations of systemic arrogance. Emily's livestream counter hit 1 million. The world outside was ablaze. News anchors scrambled to rewrite headlines. Journalists flooded inboxes with requests for statements. The Imperial Crown was no longer a hotel, it was a lesson. Maya gathered her briefcase, her posture unwavering. She turned toward the elevators where the board still waited 47 floors above. With each step she took, the staff parted like waves, silent, humbled, and terrified. Just before stepping inside the elevator, she glanced back at the crowd one final time. Her voice carried steady and clear. Power isn't the ability to humiliate. Power is the responsibility to create change. Today you all saw the difference. The elevator doors slid closed, sealing her words in the air. Down in the lobby, guests looked around at one another, realizing they had witnessed history unfold in marble and gold. Emily whispered into her camera, her voice breaking with awe. She owns everything. She lost nothing, and she just turned one moment of hate into a movement the world will never forget. Above them, the boardroom waited. Beyond them, the world reacted. And within her, Maya Carter knew this was only the beginning of something far greater than a single hotel scandal. It was the birth of a new standard, one built on dignity, justice, and quiet, unstoppable power.